Welcome to everyone joining us. My name is Nathaniel, and this is our show, Impact 2020, our continuing conversation about everything that's going on in our society: social issues, issues of race, issues of religion, issues all around. One of the things that we're going to try to do this week is just dive a little bit more into some of the topics that we've talked about over the breadth and the span of this show. We have a guest. His name is Chris. We're having a little bit of a technical difficulty, and we're trying to see if we can get him in. So if you are joining us, just be patient and deal with us, please. Because I think what we're going to do today is have some important topics that we need to discuss. And I'll just kind of start off and preference where we're at. What we're doing here is that we're having a continued conversation post-election. It's a new world, or a new society, as you can kind of say, the post-Donald Trump society. I think that's important to put in that it's a post-Donald Trump society because of the fact that some people contributed some of the rise in negative race relations to his administration. Not that those issues weren't there the whole time. It's just that it emboldened and empowered some individuals to kind of be truthful with who they are, how they feel about people of color. And so now that some things have changed, we're looking at a new world in the sense of what do we do now? What do we do with the new administration, and how do we make things differently? And so we're going to bring in Chris as soon as his information, or as soon as his part works out, and so that we can discuss through the topics. And so, where we started? We started initially this program, and we started initially this conversation after a string of violence that had went on. Ahmaud Arbery, Breonna Taylor, George Floyd, and others who were killed at the hands of police violence. And so we've gone on since that was in the spring, really when the COVID-19 crisis really started to take effect. And as we sat at home and we watched in horror over our televisions, over our phones, over the internet, watching as numerous individuals lost their lives, many unarmed, to the hands of police. Whether they committed a crime, whether they didn't commit a crime, it wasn't an opportunity to take someone's life. And so we started to have this conversation. And now the conversation had continuously gone to, we need to vote. We need to get new people. We need to get new leadership into power. And now that we've done that, now we have to go to the next steps. Where do we go from here? We got the one thing, voting, check. What's the next move? And so hopefully we can get Chris to come in and we can discuss the next move. But in the meantime, I want to encourage anyone who is listening live that you can type in your questions, you can type in your comments, and we will pull them up and we will discuss them. This is a conversation, and it's not just a conversation with the guests that we have, but it's a conversation with everyone who is listening and who may be watching. So please, I encourage you to enter in your comments, enter in your questions, and we can continue the dialogue. And if for some reason you don't want your question or comment to come across the screen, you can just type on there, do not show, or something to that sort. But we want to make sure that we get the conversation going. We still have a little bit of difficulty with Chris, and as soon as he's able to come in, we'll go ahead and we'll roll with that. But in the meantime, let's talk. Voting was great. Getting in a new administration, if you think that they were the problem, is great. Police violence has not stopped. Since the election, we've had numerous incidents in Florida. Two teenage men, or two teenage boys, let me say, were shot and killed in a car by the police on November 18th. These two gentlemen were in a car and the police stopped them thinking that the car was stolen. And as young people do sometimes, they decided to drive off. They did not stop and heed the advice of the police. And as they were driving off, the police officers shot into the car, killing both young men. In Omaha, Nebraska, 35-year-old Kenneth Jones was killed at a traffic stop. The police stopped the car. They ordered them to, the driver and the passenger was Mr. Jones, to get out of the car. He refused that order. did not want to get out of the car. They struggled with him and then shot him. They said that he had a gun on him, but it was not being used during the time of the struggle. It was just on your hip or whatnot. So he lost his life as well. Tragically, back in Florida, in Jacksonville, Florida, a young man, Devin Gregory, who was 18 years old, was also shot at a traffic stop. Again, it was a passenger and was told to exit the vehicle and refused. There was no indication of why he needed to exit the vehicle, and the police just shot him. No reason for any shooting, and then they claimed again that there was a gun in the car. But again, there was no pulling of a weapon on anyone or anything such as that. So what was the point of going through those? Voting was great. The election was great. We should all feel good about ourselves if the candidate that we wanted for president came out, if the candidates that we wanted for Senate or the House came out, we should feel good about that. We should feel good that the participation was at an all-time high. 78 million people voted for the president-elect. 74 million people voted for the incumbent president who will be leaving office. Those are both all-time record highs. But the police violence has not stopped. I just gave 3 examples of Black men losing their life at the hands of the police. Now, the details weren't given. This can go either way. We still go into the details. Oh, did this happen? Or oh, did they do this? Regardless of the details, we still have an issue of police killing Black individuals. And so the question then becomes, what's the next steps? Voting was great. The election was great. Now, what is our next move? And so where do we go from here? And I pose this question. Do we need to go the established route of established organizations that are already here? Or do we need to go a separate route of establishing new organizations and new infrastructure? All right, so now I'm going to bring in our guests, and so we can further along this conversation. We have Chris and we have Javon. How are y'all doing?
Doing well, man. Doing well.
Good. All right, so let's go ahead and jump into it. One of the things that I was just proposing, or I was just saying, was that we had the election. A lot of people thought that the current administration, that Donald Trump was one of the problems of allowing police violence or allowing violence against individuals of color to go unchecked. So we had the election, great. But I just named off, there was two teens in Florida who just got killed by police, unarmed. A gentleman in Omaha, Nebraska, who just got killed by police. And then a gentleman in Jacksonville, Florida, who just got killed by police. And so the question is, things haven't stopped. So the question is, what's the next move? What do we need to do now to make sure, now that we've got the election win, what do we need to do now to make sure that we get to where we need to go? What's the next steps?
Well, once we get, all police systems and police departments are run at the local level. So, getting Trump out of office really wasn't going to change the problem. He was just, kind of like, not very helpful in ending any of the violence or causing any changes within the departments. But now we just need to put, the pressure on our local officials, put the pressures on the police chiefs, put the pressures on our city councilmen and our county commissioners and our boards of supervisors to make sure that these police officers are really doing their job to protect and serve the communities. Defunding the police, I don't believe is the right answer. But I do believe that there definitely needs to be some fundamental change within how police are trained and how they relate to certain members of the community in which they engage in. Mm-hmm. So now, the real work begins. We need to really start pressuring these newly elected officials and and putting the pressure on them.
Okay. Javon, let me ask you, what, we don't have the ear of the president and the new vice president, but if you had the opportunity to say something to them, and not just in relation to police violence, but just all over about what Black people need, what would be one of the things that you would bring up? What would you say? What do you think that they need to hear?
I didn't hear nothing you just said. In and out.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay. Basically, so now that we've moved in, we got a new administration here. What do you think is something that they need to hear? Well, if you had their ear, if you had an opportunity to talk to them, what would you initially say? Just in regards to just everything for young Black or older Black, for the Black community, not just the police violence, but just anything that you would want to say to them. What do you think the message that they need to hear?
I would just encourage them to not, sweep stuff under the rug. When I say sweep stuff under the rug, I'm not saying things hidden, but to really be sensitive to the things that go into our communities. I think a lot of times, because we live in certain communities, they assume that, okay, we live in it, we're okay with it. But stuff isn't okay. We have kids who live in communities where drugs are being sold and wars are going on, and it's just like, they'll be okay. You know what I'm saying? And they'll build all around it, or, they'll just push us somewhere, push us in areas where we can just be by ourselves and disrupt each other versus, finding out ways to help kids out. I really and truly believe if you look at most of the guys are in prison, they come from areas of poverty or they come from the projects, for lack of better words. I guarantee you they also suffer from some sort of PTSD because they grew up thinking that, these guys turned into criminals. I'm not excusing that. But these people grew up thinking that this lifestyle was normal because that's what they grew up around and it was okay. So again, we go ahead and chop that tree at the root. That's something I really feel like, we can kind of like help our next generation as far as like not getting caught up in, because a lot of our kids grow up in these neighborhoods, and how can you tell them to want to be like their favorite teacher or want to be like, this positive guy in the corner when the dope man has all the money, or when the guy who leads the game has all the respect? But again, we have to make, so I would want this administration to, step in and say, hey, let's make sure let's help these places out,
Yeah. Well, let's pivot a little bit. There's another epidemic going on as far as violence against unarmed Black men and women, unarmed youth. That's the issue of vigilante, I guess, people coming up and thinking that it's okay to kill people of color. What just happened in Oregon was that there was a 19-year-old teen, 19 years old. He was sitting in his car, and that was late at night. It was 4 o'clock in the morning, and a gentleman came up to him, asked him to turn his music down, got into an argument, and the gentleman pulled out a gun and shot into the car, killing the teen. This isn't the first time we've seen this. We've seen it before in 2017, where there were some teens who were in a car, and a white gentleman came up and asked them to turn down their music, and then felt the need to shoot into the car, killing one of them. The epidemic is not that it's police officers, but it's just individuals, mostly white, who feel empowered to just kill Black people that they disagree with. How do we stop that? Now with police, we know that we're dealing with the system, but what do we do about these individual situations where we have these individuals trying to kill us? Chris, what do you think about that?
Well, I mean, it's education. I mean, people need to be. There's always a root to a fear, and you that these people in your life, they're a threat to your family, they're a threat to your job security, they're a threat to your whole life. When you come in contact with these people, that's how you're gonna treat them. You're gonna treat them like they are, even if they pose a threat to you. You have things in common with them. And so, I mean, the real key is really starting to have conversations with these people that really don't understand what it is to just have a relationship with, somebody that's different than they are, and it spans even it's deeper than black and white. You can even, in some cases, look at it, between straight and gay, and Christian and non-Christian. Sometimes Republican and Democrat. Sometimes you can just sit down and just really get conversation to try to get them to understand you, but just to sit down and understand them, and just let them kind of talk, explain to you they feel, how they feel. People start to gain confidence. And as you go, that's how we.
All right. Well, we're breaking up a little bit there, Chris. I'm gonna switch to Javon here. I don't want us to miss the moment. Oh, we just lost him. All right. Well, Chris, you still there? Yeah, you're breaking up a little bit on.
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, there you go. Okay.
Oh.
Well, here's Javon. Here we go. Well, Javon, I want to say I don't want us to miss the moment. So right now we're in this pandemic. We're all separated. Do you see the value when we get back to being able to go outside and being able to get together and see people again? Do you think that that's going to make a significant difference in what's going on? I think one of the reasons we are so separated, like Chris was talking about, we're separated on race, we're separated on gender, we're separated on sexual orientation, religion. When we're able to get back out, when COVID is behind us in the sense of we have a vaccine or I don't know, whatever's going to happen, when we get back to a little bit of normal, do you think that's going to change things? That once we're able to touch each other again and see each other again, white people, black people, people with differences able to get together, is that going to help solve the problem, or is that going to make it, or is that going to make a difference?
I think a huge part of that problem is we also have to change the way, like we can't expect someone to view us no different if we don't change the way we view ourselves. I truly now, I think when COVID, once COVID's over, I think we all be able to hoop and hide and hit parade, but I don't think it's gonna solve everything, I really believe if we change the way we view ourselves, other people are gonna change the way they treat us. I can't expect for no one to treat me like equal to or greater than per se. If I'm crab, if I'm using the crabs and the bear mentality with you, or if I can't. And again, I'm not justifying, and I hope I'm not backtracking on the question. But I'm not justifying, anyone of another race killing one of us, But at the same token, every day in our neighborhoods we do it. I got a homeboy 2 days ago who just was shot just because he was in the club and then said excuse me to nobody. And he said excuse me to the guy who walked by. So again, it's like we have to do better as a community when anyone else looks at us different. If we want other races or the rest of the world to say, hey, let's take care of these people, or not even take care or let's respect these people, how we gonna look at ourselves? Listen to our music. We got the kid King Von who got killed recently, and I feel for his family, but if you listen to a lot of his music, him and a lot of people like him, a lot of music that this generation and my generation listen to, they promoted the violence and destruction of our own communities. So when we go to these same people and say, why would you do this? It's easy for them to show us the same mirror, like, well, you're doing it anyway. So, I mean, you're mad at me, but I'm just doing what you did. So I don't know.
That's a good point that you brought up. That's a similar point to what Barack Obama was saying. He was saying that in our rap music, you listen to our rap music and you listen to the goals of it, prioritizing, the MOB, money over everything, and looking at the big gold and the big cars and everything like that, especially where it's gone now. Not so much where it started in the 80s, but more so where it's moved now. in its current state. And he says you look at that and you look at the goals of Donald Trump and you say, those are the same goals.
Yeah.
And that's why a lot of people ended up kind of going that route and were like, hey, let's go get this money and let's not care about the Black community, or let's not care about the terrible things that are happening to individuals or just individuals, period. He was basically saying it's a little bit problematic, and people gave him some flack for it. But do you think, and I heard you say it, so I'm gonna go to Chris. Do you think that our I'm not gonna say hip hop culture, but our rap music, some of the stuff that we like is a little bit problematic as far as indoctrinating our people into some bad habits? I don't know, but I think we're getting a little bit of a lag there, Chris. I don't know if you might be frozen up. Yeah. Well, Javon, I'm we're going to kind of move to a different topic a little bit. I'm going to tell you how I feel, and then I want you to respond, or not how I feel. I'm going to give you this. So when you look at TV commercials, you see a Black woman who's married to a white guy, and then they'll be selling a car. And then it won't just be a Black woman; it'll be a Black woman who is already looking like she's mixed. Then she's marrying a white guy, and then they're having this mix. And you see that in commercial after commercial after commercial. And then you see that Kamala Harris is in the office, and he's married to a white guy. And then you see that when you look at our sports, you see a lot of the commentators, especially the female ones, majority of them are married to a white guy. And I'm saying this in the sense of, I'm not saying it as there's anything wrong with interracial marriage.
Right.
But I'm saying there's an appearance that the culture and on television, they're trying to show you that it's not good enough to be this dark-skinned brown person. You need to get your white pass, whether it be your spouse or whether it be that you're mixed yourself. Because you just don't see dark-skinned people or Black people by themselves being successful. They always have to have a white pass or a white person, whether it be your spouse or whether it be the fact that your mama is Black but your daddy is white. What do you think about that? Is that a thing, or am I just making that up?
No, I think it's case by case. I think for the media, I think they're not ready to see nobody with curly hair or Homer Melon or Homer Melon. I don't think they're ready for that.
Can you run that question back again? I missed part of it.
Yeah, we're gonna hop back on Javon real quick, but the question is of a white pass, that we don't see just Black people anymore. You see a Black person who has to have a white spouse or a Black person who is mixed, whether it be in TV, movies, or entertainment. Is that a thing? So I'm going to Javon. We're gonna let Javon hit that first, and then I'm gonna move to you, Chris.
So yeah, like I said, I don't believe the media so many words is prepared to see somebody with curly hair or dark skin or someone who I don't think they're ready to see. I don't think they're ready to see that. I just don't think they're ready to see that. So it's safer when you put someone who looks mixed, or it's safer when you put it's safer when you put someone who looks mixed, or it's safer when you use somebody who use someone a lighter skin, because looks a lot more friendly. Those are the people that don't fear. If you put somebody who looks like me up there, then that's kind of scary for truthfully, because I'm the type of person that instead of you buying a car, you sell a car to, you lock your doors when you lock your doors when I walk by. You know what I'm saying? Versus somebody who of lighter skin, versus that's somebody, hey, he doesn't bother me, like Tiger Woods. Not using Tiger as that, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
But as far as athletes and political figures marrying outside of their race, I think a lot of that has something to do with the circles that they run with. I use Black athletes. I think some of them, because they go to these PWIs and they're at those schools with people that don't look like them, that's who they end up dating, or they end up becoming attracted to That's just who they marry. I think that's just by default. So because even when you use Miss Harris, I think for her, yes, she did go to HBCU, but I think the more she got into her career, I think some black men are intimidated of women who are of power, and I think a lot of brothers just were kind of intimidated by her. So she ended up marrying or she ended up dating in her class, and that's just how it was. You know, I think it's case by case. I think it's case by case.
Yeah. So, Chris, I'm gonna hop to you. Do you? Oh, just lost. Well, Javon, come back to you again. But what kind of message does that send to our young kids, though? When we understand it's case by case, and so who you love is who you love, and so in the sense of, we're not going to sit here and be like, all right, you shouldn't have married this white guy, or you shouldn't have married this person outside of your race. But when every single successful person that you see ends up being mixed race, what kind of message does that send? Like, I'm not good enough. Like, I'm not good enough to be black. Black isn't good enough. You got to have something else. You got to be, what's the word that the girls used to get really mad when guys say that they wanted a girl that was exotic. But it looks like society wants an exotic black person. Even down to Barack Obama, he was exotic because he had a white mama and a black father. Where do we have? From my standpoint, I'm saying we need black on black representation. And we won't be able to get to where we need to go until we have that. Do you feel like that's the same? Do we need it, or am I just kind of whining a little bit?
No, but again, it goes back to my earlier question. It goes back to my earlier question. My earlier statement. We have to change the way we view ourselves. Think about how many. So I'm using myself. Growing up, it took me a while to be comfortable in my own skin because I remember hearing all the black jokes. Just because I'm so dark skinned, I was referred to being black ass, dark ass. Luckily, I was raised by somebody who helped me appreciate, like, hey, that color black, that color black, which is the same color as oil. That's one of the most. That's the thing people go to wars for. So appreciate that skin. So I was able to, like, all right, I'm cool with being dark skinned. But think about the people who really struggle with their color. They struggle with this piece. So, they get that, they get that conversation piece, whether it's dating outside of their race or dating lighter or whatever, just so they can say, okay, yeah, I fit in now. I can fit in this crowd. So some people I think some people just aren't that comfortable in their skin. And then I think some people, they just get caught up. They get caught up, like, and I use our athletes a lot because I think some of our athletes, they're running these circles, and as they're moving up the ladder, here comes the white girl who's been around helping them do their work, and their dad has a hedge fund, and he was showing, it's just, it just seems like, well, this works, and they run with it. I'm not saying that some of the stuff isn't true love, but it kind of throws when you got this guy who came from the hood and out of nowhere he deals with Becky that comes from the burbs. It's like, how that happen? You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Sometimes it don't make sense, but sometimes the people just get caught up in it.
Yeah. I'll say we pretty much run through our time. I'll say from my point, the commercials bother me. They do. I always see the commercials where it's always the mixed couple, and the problem is that it's a mixed couple and it's a black woman who's already mixed, and it's. I love to see mixed couples, but come on, man! It's sometime I want to see a black person and another black person, and they be a family. Like, can we have that? You selling soap? Well, can I have two black people in the same room at the same time?
Oh yeah. But again, like I said, those things are it's safer. I used to sell a car. My first job out of college, I was a car salesman. I never forget. I was the only black salesman at a car lot. I was the only person that was college educated at a car lot. But I never forget, this guy came to the show, and white people there, they always, the guys I work with, they always made sure they let me know that I was the only black guy. Like, they made sure they would say black stuff or try to be cool with it, something. So I'll never forget, there was one day, this guy came on the lot, and he had dreads. Him and his wife had dreads, whole family had dreads. So they immediately, they didn't want to deal with him. So they said, hey, Davis is a guy out there, you should go talk to him. And there's plenty of people on the parking lot that specifically told me to talk to the black guy. And the black guy told me, look, I'm not going to buy a car. He said, but I know they sent you out here just because you're only a black guy. So he said, I want you to take me to this dealership, and I want to see how much I make. I want to see how well I am, and I just want to see everything. I want to see how I look on paper because they judged me before they even spoke to me. We took this guy inside the dealership, and he created some app, but he was worth millions, like millions, and they're just looking at him like, like everyone's shocked now. Everyone, now everyone's grabbing at his feet. But again, because of his opinion, because of how they see him, they were scared of him. So again, they don't make commercial for us because they're not ready to see us. This is not the people they want to see. These are not the people they want sitting at their table. This isn't the people they want to invite to their parties. That's not what they want to see. So it's easier to bring the person who, has the silkier hair, has the light skin, because you know what? You kind of look like me. You know what I'm saying? That's just what it is. But again, that goes back to also that old slave mentality, because those are the people who would 9 times out of 10 would have been the ones in the house. People like me, we would have been the ones, the Mandingos that was outside, they would have been afraid of because I was the wild buck. You know what I'm saying? So,
the irony of this whole conversation that we have is that whole the term the white pass, or you're not ready to see the black person. When you get your white pass, or if you have your white pass, whether it be your mixed race, or whether it be your spouse or your girlfriend or whatever, all that goes out the window when we circle back to police violence. They don't protect you when them cops come to see you. And the irony is the one equalizer is the one thing that we're trying to really solve the issue of. But at the end of the day, when them cops roll up on you, I don't care who your mama is. I don't care how many white friends you got. I don't care how many commercials you did where it was a mixed race couple. When them cops come up, they see your black skin.
Kanye said in the song one time, he said, "I don't care if you're in the Benz, you still an N-word in the coupe." Like, it don't change nothing. Yes, sir.
Yeah. Well, our time is gone. Javon, man, I really appreciate you joining us. Further along the conversation, we're really trying to move the ball and get to where we need to be. And so I say this to everybody who may be listening or who may watch this later. If you want to join our show, let us know. Please feel free to put us in the comments or call our number, and you can get on and have this conversation. Javon, please join us again. Thank you for your enlightenment in this conversation. This is Impact 2020. Thank you, everyone who's joined us, and good night.
Have a great